All right, glad to have you back. Still on Nigeria's business environment, and we look at what's been happening with regards to President Bola Tinubu's speech. That's the New Year's speech. Yes, the President Bola Tinubu has assured Nigerians of their resolve to boost food production and reduce inflation on food and drugs to 15%, while strengthening the economy in 2025. In his New Year message to the nation, President Tinubu highlighted economic growth indicators, including lower fuel prices, rising foreign reserves, and stronger naira as signs of progress in 2024 that would continue in 2025. Well, Mr. President says, and I quote, he says, economic indicators point to a positive and encouraging outlook for our nation. Said fuel prices have gradually decreased, and Nigeria has recorded foreign trade surpluses in 3 consecutive quarters. The president added that Nigeria's stock markets recorded growth and had generated trillions of naira in wealth, adding that the surge in investment and, of course, foreign investment reflected renewed confidence in Nigeria's economy. Let's join Nabila Mohammed. She's an investment analyst with Chapel Hill Denham. Nabila, thank you so much. Happy New Year. It's really good to see you.
Happy New Year, Mr. Tolu. Thank you for having me.
I think we should start with that speech. I know you've seen it. You've read through it. There are a lot of topics, or let me say, a lot of indicators, yes, let me say, economic indicators in that speech that we could touch on one after the other. But let me ask you what it means to you in its entirety. What message does that speech send to you, considering what we've seen in 2024 and what we expect in 2025?
So the first key message that I got from the speech of the president on the New Year's Day was the fact that his administration is still bent on pursuing and to the latter the current policies that we saw started in 2024. So they explained that they are still on track in terms of the fact that they were able to achieve the removal of fuel subsidy, and they still intend to stick to that policy. They were able to achieve the unification of the FX in that the FX market, and they are still intended on driving inflation down to 15%, which in my view is a tall order, but that just reinforced the whole notion of what the policies they have done and what the current administration stands for. And it just simply shows that there is no going back in terms of everything that we have seen materialize last year, and we would see it continue this year in terms of what we have started as well. So that is the key message I got from the speech of the president, that everything that has been started in terms of policy reform and across economic indicators is going to still continue this year, and all we need to address the economic issues the best way that we can.
The economic indicators really pointing to looking positive. Now, let's identify some of them. Foreign trade surplus, we've seen that, of course, for 3 consecutive quarters. Foreign reserves raising about $40.2 billion US, I think, as at November ending or something. The naira also strengthened against the US dollar, closing the year at about 1,005 something, close to about 1,600, at least better than where it started from. Looking at these pointers for you as an investment analyst, how does it come to you and what do you make of them?
So let's just look at these indicators and identify some of the policies that they actually started. Now, if you look at the FX market, we saw a lot of interventions by TVC. We saw a number of circulars addressing the transparency and allowing for more involvement in the FX market, allowing players. We saw circulars regarding the premium or margin that BTCs are going to be able to add when there is an intervention. We also saw the restructuring that is going to materialize this year, mid-year for the PVC segment. We saw the introduction of the Bloomberg Match, which I believe all these just thumbs up to the fact that we are seeing that appreciation. First of all, stability, I would say, and eventually an appreciation. And this is a welcome development. And as you mentioned, in terms of trade surplus, yes, in fact, if we go back 4 quarters earlier than the 3 quarters of 2024 that we have seen the trade data, it's actually 8 consecutive quarters of trade surplus that we have been recording, and it is a positive thing because in the long run, all these interventions will not be sustainable if we do not have improved export earnings. So in terms of effects, yes, we are starting to see that improvement. Now, in terms of economic growth, we recognize that all through last year, the 3 quarters of economic GDP growth that we did see, it was largely sectors that were not oil producing that were contributing the most to economic growth. I'm talking about financial services, I'm talking about other sectors that are not oil and gas. So that just simply sends a message that into 2025, we should expect to see more policy reforms, which I believe the president alluded to a bit when he mentioned that they are going to be looking at agriculture, looking at improving food production, even production and manufacturing of drugs. So all these will then address not just our efforts, it will also in a way reduce or tame inflation, but that 15% is quite tall, so we do not know if that 15% is going to materialize, but a lot of things really have to go into planning and making sure that these indicators fall within the anticipated outcomes based on what the government has budgeted for.
And now the president late yesterday, I think, he met with the governors, and he told them that they are the closest links to the people. That's the governors, and of course the local government chairpersons and all of that. And he really wants them to work hand in hand with him with regards to agriculture, taking advantage of all of this, how they can trickle down to the masses. What message was that sent to you, and what more do you think Nigerians need kind of support from the subnationals at this time? The federal government definitely cannot do this all alone.
Yes, as you rightly put it, the federal government cannot do this alone. It is one thing for the reason why we have this subnational and even the local governments is just to bring the idea or the process of government close to the people. And the state government should start seeking ways to attract investment to their own area, to their own confines, because this will bring about development not just from a central level, but from their own, from the grassroots level. So it is an all-inclusive plan, and it should be adopted, because if we really want to see changes in terms of projects, the capital projects that are done across the nation, it actually starts from the grassroots. We need to identify the problems there, and these state governors or even the local government are the closest to the people that can really identify the problems that need to be addressed from the grassroots level. I mean, if we're just sticking to specifics now, we're looking at insecurity and even the natural resources that are in different states, and how these state governments can really harness the natural resources that we have there. We definitely see that, number one, it will be accretive to the state government because they are internally generated revenue groups, which will also be putting the state in limelight because they will be attracting investment if they are able to articulate and put together everything that they have that it can also contribute to the table. So it is beyond just waiting for the federal government to release allocations. It is also time for the state government to really look inwards and see what we can bring to the table in terms of development, in terms of capital projects, in terms of identifying issues that these grassroots levels are being faced with, and how they can actually remedy some of these issues.
Let's take it to now to look at increase of access to credit for individuals and critical sector. Now, the government is talking about the National Credit Guarantee Company. And, you see a lot of moves by this administration to create a credit economy where people can, of course, achieve, gather things and, get things together without wanting to, go out of their way. But what do you make of this, and as in partnership with the likes of the BOI, Ministry of Finance and all of that? What positives are you seeing in this, talking about the credit scheme now?
It is positive, and I will keep it this way, largely because for a business to thrive and to contribute in terms of output to the economy, what we really need is access to credit.
Yes.
And Access to credit is one thing. Another thing that we should also consider is the fact that we still have high interest rate environment currently. So for businesses that would want to embark upon capital expenditure projects that are spanning 5, 7 years, now is not the time to start locking at such high rates. So before we can really see that access to credit materialize or change the lives of the underserved, as we put it, and the individuals that would need access to credit in order to improve their businesses and contribute to the output of the economy. We need to have an interest rate environment that is, encouraging to these businesses to borrow from the credit companies. Now, that being said, we are still going to expect the modalities around how this credit is going to be accessed by individuals. I mean, he did mention that it would be officially out, I think, in the second quarter of 2025. So, pending when that happens, I still feel that high interest rate environment will not really be encouraging for businesses to aggressively access credit right now. But when we see how the modalities of this particular company is put in place and at what rate they will be lending to these sectors and these individuals, we better know how best it will be administered in the long run.
The investors' confidence, which we're talking about, we saw a report today, DMO talking about government meeting all debt obligations, citing the oversubscription of Eurobond, about 2.2 billion euros there. But my question to you really would be, what's your thoughts, or what are your thoughts around investors' confidence in Nigeria at this time as we move in 2025?
Well, I would say I'll start like this. Last year, we did see a number of engagements from the CBN governor, the Minister of Finance, and Coordinating Minister of Economy. We saw a lot of engagement with investors, both within and outside the country. So that just really addressed some of the questions that some of these foreign investors had prior to when the Eurobond was issued. Now, that being said, that is actually something that I feel provided answers to questions that some of these investors had prior to the issuance of the Eurobond. It was a way to just enlighten these investors, share their plans with them across key areas that are of concern to them, especially with regards to FX and what they plan to do. So all these sort of water their appetite, and we did see that I think it's one of the reasons that that fed into the oversubscription that we saw. Secondly, we also saw that the pricing was quite attractive, given that we've seen the Fed cut rate, all these things emboldening these foreign investors to really come into the country. So there is that confidence because of the level of engagement that this current administration has put in terms of, I think we had an engagement with the NGX, partnering with other foreign investors. We also had the Minister and CBN governor meeting foreign investors outside the country. So all these engagements helped to better improve foreign investors' understanding of the plans and policies around issues that are affecting or that will likely affect their investment. And I believe that alone, sort of improves the confidence level, and we see that oversubscription at the end of the day. So I would say it is getting better, and I would also expect that going into 2025, it should be sustained, because we do not want to just meet and greet once and not really continue to engage your investors. It's important that that is sustained into 2025.
And the goal of the $1 trillion economy, which the government is still chasing, this is something that everyone is also focused on. And we see the banks too. Many of them are already getting there, talking about the recapitalization process. Your reaction to that?
Yes, surely. I mean, the genesis of the recapitalization exercise is largely that we are targeting a $1 trillion economy. And for that to materialize, the sector that provides financing needs to be well capitalized to support big ticket transactions that would, bring about this growth or this output in terms of sectors of the economy. So yes, I would say we've seen progress. We did see two of the banks, Access and FCMB, have already done a capital raise that has been verified by the Central Bank and the Securities and Exchange Commission. We're expecting that the other banks that also tap into the market will be able to conclude their verification exercise within the next couple of months. So all these is the target, and it's just one area, and we are still, the president really said that we're still on track to delivering that $1 trillion economy. It's not something that's achievable right now. It is, there are 7 years, the long plan to achieve that. So we'll still see some other things come to play in terms of driving that goal or achieving that goal.
Interesting conversation as usual. But I must thank you so much for your time on the show. Investment Analyst, Chapel Hill Denham, Nabila Mohammed, thank you so much. Do have a great 2025. I hope to see you again soon.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
All right then. We'll take a break. When we come back, Young Ekop will join me in the studio, and we'll do a holistic review of market performance and, of course, project